is not a test. This is rock and roll. Time to rock it from the...
How do you not think of that every time you have these massive microphones in front of you? I feel like that's what I would think about every time.
I do think about it every time. Yeah. And for those of you who are just joining us, you have just joined Joy of the Hang. And I am your host, Sharon Stevenson. And I am joined today by my beautiful daughter, and Robin Williams, my beautiful daughter, Haley Stark. And that was Robin Williams from
Good Morning Vietnam. Aptly
Good Morning Vietnam. Yeah, I don't do it as well as he does.
No, you do. You do.
I need to practice. Have you seen the movie?
Of course I have. No, I've just seen that one.
Just that one clip?
And it really moved me. And I bring it up every time I see a recording device.
Well, I want to introduce you to my daughter, who is a very funny person. You're a bit of a comedian. You are on your, or so were, wait, right. You were on, yes, this is how we're starting it, that you were the captain of your, well, it was called TLA, your improv troupe.
That's correct. Co-captain.
The fine institution, Ivy League institution.
That's the one, yeah.
Of Harvard University.
Yes.
In Cambridge. And folks, this is what my hard-earned money paid for.
Every parent's dream to have their kid is the success story that every parent dreams of for their child. It's, get into an Ivy League school, spend their time doing improv comedy. Mm-hmm. I know that was an exciting phone call to receive on a weekly basis from me is, how are your grades? All right. Improv's going great. We had a full crowd last weekend. Yeah,
I know. I was hoping that she was going to become the next Mark Zuckerberg and create.
I don't know if that's a hope.
That's not? No? Is he not like a pro? Him and Matt Damon, like who are some of the famous people that graduated from Harvard?
Matt Damon is a more respectable. I want to go back to you saying I hopes I'd be Mark Zuckerberg. Well, I would read anything about Mark Zuckerberg's story and then maybe revise. Matt Damon, a great guy. Natalie Portman.
But
they probably did the theater. They probably did
improv. You don't know if they're a legacy?
They did not do improv, but you know who did do improv was Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. She was on the short form improv troupe OTI.
Wait. Did Conan O'Brien have something to do with?
Conan O'Brien was not on an improv troupe, but he was a member and 2-time president, I believe, of the Harvard Lampoon, which is the, of course, well-known comedy magazine.
And you have 8 presidents that went to Harvard. Can you name all 8?
No, absolutely not. I believe it's 8. It's 8 or 9, and it's
Quincy Adams.
Bad. It's don't even test me. But they were
okay. I won't test you.
There are 8 amongst like the Harvard University. I think several of them just went to either the Kennedy School, which is the government school, or the law school as well. I don't know.
Right. They didn't all go to undergrad.
Came right out of undergrad. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's important to make these distinctions.
It's important to, yes. But yeah, a lot of important people.
A lot of important people, for sure. Yeah. A lot of important people's sons and daughters.
Yes.
As well.
And Haley Stark is now among them.
Here's an important person's daughter.
Is an important
It's true. I wrote my application essay based on your podcast.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Yeah, that's what got you into Harvard.
Yeah.
Glad to hear it.
I saw that in the future. And
because the podcast came after.
Yeah, but the biopic is going to mess with the timeline anyway, so it's not even going to matter at that point. It's like what caused what.
Okay, so that is a common question I get asked. First of all, when people say, where did your daughter go to college? I often say, well, she went to college in Boston, and they're all like, there's lots. So then they're like, which college in Boston? And then I have to say, well, she went to Harvard. And everyone is like, okay, how did she get into Harvard? Like everyone is just this, because what, 5% of applicants get accepted? Is it that?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Somewhere around 5%. So there are thousands of people that apply. Mm-hmm. 5% get accepted. Mm-hmm. What's your story? What was special about your story, do you think? Or special about, other than you're brilliant?
Right. Let's start with that.
Let's start
top
with that.
Of my resume. I go, I'm brilliant. Take me. Which shockingly doesn't work on its own. Listen, getting into Harvard, there isn't one route, is what I've learned. I graduated in the spring, and so I've spent the 4 years meeting a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds. And No story is like another unless you're, I guess you're an athlete, but mostly
or a legacy, right?
Or legacy athletes. If you're a legacy athlete, you're all set. Don't even, bother to send anything in. But no, I had a very traumatic and life-changing medical history that I exploited for admission on my essay many years ago. And no, I got really into disability advocacy after that, and just talked about what I had done in the state of Maine. I think for me, I was a sort of big fish, small pond coming from Maine. A lot of folks who go to Harvard are from major metropolitan areas like New York City and Los Angeles. And then there are a handful of us who are kind of from states that don't have a lot of national acclaim like Maine. My roommate was from Ohio. And so, yeah, it's like, how do you set yourself apart in different environments? And for me, it was really that story. I think I was not competitive in the way that Harvard students are competitive academically or in, other regards. But I think that extracurricular and story, what they call soft parts of your application probably put me ahead back then.
Well, and let me know if you want to share that story, because I think it's a very interesting life event that you dealt with and overcame and continue to deal with on some level. So why don't you take us back, because I will maybe talk to you from a parent's perspective, but you wrote a book when you were, after. So the incident happened when you were 12. The incident. You wrote a book about it. I think when you were 16, it was published. Is that about right?
Yeah,
15,
it was like my
16?
16th birthday, I think. Yeah.
So why don't you take us back to that night on May 20th? 21st. I was close. Maybe
I'd love to take us back to the night of May 20th.
Yeah, I bet you would.
I was probably watching
I bet you
American
would.
Idol.
May 20th was a much better day than May 21st.
Yes.
In the year of, 2014, 12 years ago.
12 years ago. Yeah.
All right, take us back. Tell us what was going on.
Sure. So I'm 24 now. I was 12 then, so it's a lifetime ago for me, or I suppose half a lifetime ago. And it, May 21st, 2014, I was a perfectly healthy 12-year-old girl, never broke a bone, never sick a day in my life. And I was at my dad's house. My parents had been about 3 years divorced at the time. And I had just gotten home from a track practice where I was just running like normal. I never did any real events that were particularly dangerous. I did some high jumping here and there, but pretty routine track practice. Came home, was doing homework, notified my dad that I had a pretty intense pain in my shoulder. I was feeling like this very sharp, very acute pain, sort of like a muscle strain, like a muscle pull. And he was like, well, do you want to lie down? I'll give you some Advil. You can go upstairs, take an hour or whatever. And thank whatever God you believe in, I said to my dad, I go like, no, I think this is worse. Like, I think this is something going on. Don't know what it is. And he was like, all right, and thank God, whatever God you believe in, that my father listened to me in that moment. And he always trusted me. And so we sit and we talk about it for a minute, and that pain just spreads from my shoulder to, everywhere, neck down. And I'm telling him this, and I'm panicking. I'm 12 years old. I don't know what's happening. And within about 90 seconds, I was completely paralyzed. So all of that pain spreads. 90 seconds, no pain, but no sensation at all.
From the neck down.
From the neck down, yeah. Which is to say, I don't know if I was feeling my head necessarily, but like my whole body. But
you could still communicate.
I could still communicate. I could for a little bit. I said this to my dad. He called the ambulance. The ambulance is on its way. But at this stage, I'm sort of looking down, propped up by a pillow, and I'm looking down at my body, laying horizontally, and I cannot move or feel any of it. So it's a hard sensation to describe. Most have not felt this sensation. And it's sort of like watching someone else's body. Like you just look like, because you see somebody touching it. You see it laying against something, but you don't have that feedback, that physiological feedback.
And I want to remind our listeners, you're 12 years old, so you also don't really have language to describe what's happening necessarily.
No, of course not. No, and I'm panicked and I'm emotional and I don't know what's happening. And in the natural order of adolescent priority, I'm thinking, well, I have a big track meet tomorrow.
Yeah.
It was a Wednesday night. Thursday was the next day, and Thursday weekly track meets.
I think you had softball too or something.
Probably. Yeah. Too many sports to name.
You were in a lot of sports.
But this was a very exciting one because it was the home track meet and home field advantage. If you know the curves of your own track, it's very exciting. And I was a big track runner at the time. And so that was my big question at the beginning. I was asking the EMTs. I was like, do you think I'm going to go track practice tomorrow? They're like, we're here to check your blood pressure. And I got in and they thought I was having a panic attack. They didn't know what was going on. I was asking a lot of questions, but they didn't have any answers. And then I got to Maine Medical Center. In the emergency room, I got worse very quickly. It was not discovered what had happened to me for a very long time, but everything just started deteriorating. My internal organs were shutting down. You can't move or feel anything, so you can't obviously sort of like keep up. Your body can't keep up with its primary functioning. And they put me through MRIs. I ended up doing this 5-hour MRI on the first night that I'll never forget. I was in there forever. And that's when you go from, for some it's a quinceañera, for some it's a coming out. For me, my girlhood to womanhood journey was in that 5-hour MRI because you start and you're wondering like, well, when the hell am I going to get out of here? Like, I got shit to do. I got this ice cream in the fridge. And then an hour goes by, you're still sitting there. You're like, like, has an hour gone by? Is that how long I've been in here? You still can't move or feel anything. And it was a horribly loud noise of an MRI, which I just, I'd never obviously been in one before. And after a few hours, you start to sort of go to like, this might be permanent. What's going on here? It doesn't dawn on you until you're sitting there in that. And then about hour 4, hour 5, you're like, am I dying? Is this, am I like, I'm now starting to understand the objective things that are happening right now. I'm being, I have a catheter, I have a feeding tube, I have all these things sustaining me. It doesn't really dawn on you until you're looking at all those things in that quiet space. And you're like, well, damn, am I going to be, here for the duration? And, and then we were moved to Tufts Medical Center for Tufts Floating Hospital. Before
we go there, let's back up a little bit because what we were being told is that you were, kind of crashing in the MRI. That's why it was taking so long because you were unable to breathe. And so they had to keep pulling you out to make sure you were okay. And you were panicking. And then they came and said you had one of 3 diagnoses at that point. You either had transverse myelitis.
Yep.
You either had Guillain-Barré, or the final and worst case scenario was a spinal stroke, which was almost unheard of for pediatric patients.
Still unheard of, yeah.
Yeah, so less than 2% of all strokes at any age are spinal strokes. It's something that a lot of people are like, what is a spinal stroke? Most of them are cerebral. So we had a real crash course in what was happening. And so you had to be... they were treating you with a cough assist machine because you were swallowing. You couldn't cough up your own phlegm, so you were choking on your own saliva.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Just to give the listeners some imagery.
It was pretty scary.
Yeah, it was.
And then I remember at one point during the night, your dad and I we were in the waiting room for the 5 hours in the MRI, and at one point he had to go home because you have an older brother.
I do, yeah.
And so he had to go home and take care of him and get him ready for school the next day.
Yeah.
And so I was left there by myself. And I remember, you don't know this, although I'm sure I've shared it with you since then, but around 3:00 in the morning, the head ICU doctor came in to get me and invited me to her back office, which again, I'm like, okay, nobody goes back behind that door.
No, it's like being called to the principals, right?
Yeah. I'm like, why am I being...
can't be a gold star.
Right. Yeah. Can't be good. Why isn't she not talking to me in the room with my daughter, right? So she looks at me and says, I have some bad news. Your daughter is not going to make it through the night. She won't be alive in the morning if we don't put her on life support. Mm-hmm. And I looked at her with a shocked look on my face and literally said, wait, you must be talking about someone else. My daughter was just running track like 8 hours ago and has never been sick a day in her life. She hasn't had so much as an ear infection. And now you're telling me she may not live through the night? Like, what the hell? So it was at that point that I don't know what came over me, but I was like, I want her I'll tell you what came over me. But I did want you transferred to a hospital in Boston right away, because the things were now like, okay, life support. We're not sure if she'll ever be able to walk again. She may be permanently paralyzed. So I'm thinking, I've got to get her out of this hospital and into a hospital that may have more experience with strokes in general.
Which is always good advice.
And then secondly, I wanted you in the system in Boston in case you had to go to Spalding for rehab. So I was already thinking through all of that. But you were not stable enough to transport. And they were trying to get you life supported by helicopter to... They wanted to get you at Children's Hospital, but they couldn't find a bed for you there. And I don't even know how you got stabilized enough to eventually go by ambulance with a team of doctors by your side.
Divine intervention there for sure. Yeah.
For sure, because it's a 2.5 hour ambulance ride from Portland, Maine to what ended up being Tufts. We got you into Tufts, which was another... godsend, I think.
Great hospital. Yeah, the floating hospital for children.
Great hospital. I always say the doctors at Tufts saved your life. The therapists at Spalding gave you back your mobility. That's how
that's a great way to put it. I think also the only addendum to that is also the nurses at all these institutions.
Oh, 100%. I should
brought back my life and my mobility.
The caregivers, for sure. Yeah, we were surrounded by... Yeah, and your case ended up becoming you were quite notorious through Maine Med, because people were just shocked that a case like yours was presented to them.
I think they were just as shocked in Boston. I think, long story short, for those who are interested in sort of the medical background of it, I'll make this super brief, but a spinal cord stroke, what makes it so rare is that it can really only happen when you're a child. Before you reach a certain age of development, in your mid-teens, your arteries move laterally. So the ones that supply your spine with oxygen and blood, they go horizontally, and over time there's a membrane that grows around the spine. And then all of those arteries, the little ones, prune, and they go through more centralized systems, your oxygen, your blood. And so what is theorized about what had happened is that some incredibly small, microscopic piece of cartilage that broke off of that growing membrane around my spine had blocked one of those teeny tiny arteries that was moving laterally, thus causing the gray matter in the spine, which is the infarction, the stroke itself. And so, and that's just a theory. Just a theory. The theory
was, that she had an infarction between C3 and C5, which is the area that controls your diaphragm. That's why she was unable to breathe. Lower than that even?
Lower, yeah.
She just recently got copies of her medical reports, and we've been going through them. So
yeah, it was a little bit lower than that. They started by...
thinking C3 to C5.
C3 to C5, but it was lower. It was C4 to T2, which also helps to explain why the lower body was also so affected. It's not an exact science as I understand it, and I'm no doctor, but basically like the lower on your spine, the lower the impact on your body, and higher up, the more likely it's to cover like your upper body or your full body. It's that's what I've understood from it. If a listener can correct me, please.
So as your body is shutting down and you're losing control of everything, I remember as a parent, hearing the words life support and just being terrified because both of my grandparents were put on life support at Maine Med, and both of them died on life support. They were eventually had to be taken off life support. So that was when they said that, my whole experience with life support is you don't come off life support.
I think it's a lot of people. Yeah, I think as was made evident during COVID when it was so, often discussed that ventilation was the next phase for a lot of folks who were getting COVID, especially in older folks' homes across the country. People share that fear because that is, life support is definitionally sort of a last stage intervention.
Yeah. So. And I mean, talk about for a parent, your dad might say the same. There's this loss of control. Like you want to do everything you can to protect your child. And then you have this diagnoses and these people that really don't know what it is or what to do. I mean, you were treated like a lab rat for the first few days because nobody knew what was happening to you. So I think everybody from infectious disease to oncology to, you name it, every doctor had their take it trying to figure out what caused this in a young child your age. So, I don't think they ever fully explained it or was able to determine what happened, but
no, they've come to this collective, theory about it, but it's hard to say. There's what's great, knock on wood, is there's no indication that such a thing will happen again. I had no genetic history, and there was nothing that they found in infectious disease or in oncology that would suggest that there would be any kind of recurrence.
So let's talk about the process. So you were on life support for 13 days.
Yep. I was on life support for the better part of those 13 days, but I still have memories I was at Tufts for 13 days.
Right.
And I do have some memories from Tufts. So I think I was on.
We have to give a shout out to Susie.
Nurse Susie O'Hara.
Nurse Susie.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh,
Nurse Susie
my gosh.
O'Hara.
Shout out to all nurses everywhere because the work you all do is phenomenal. And this particular woman that came into our lives during this period of time was life-changing in so many ways. Why don't you talk about how she impacted you? Yeah,
Nurse Susie, I do want to preface it by saying that she's of a collective of many, many, many outstanding nurses. And it's a privilege to have the attention of one in such a special way like that I had from her. Nurse Susie came into my room at Tufts Floating Hospital for Children. And I remember I was depressed, as anyone would be in that situation, whether it was because I was missing my home track meet or because I had come to terms with with my own mortality at age 12. She came into my room and she was assigned to do the bed bathing that they do. And it's incredibly difficult as a prepubescent, preteen to have somebody taking care of your hygienic needs because it's already such an awkward and horrible time to be a kid when you're 12, 13, And so I had just been relinquishing control of my body. And it's very uncomfortable. And this woman comes in and before she even gets going, she goes in her perfect Revere accent. She's like, have you heard of Iggy Azalea? Like Iggy Azalea, have you heard of her? And I just remember being like, no one had at the time. It was 2014. And she was like, if it's good with you, I'm going to put on a music. I'm going to put it on right now while I'm doing this. It's maybe more New York, but you get the picture. Sorry.
That's all right.
It's been a while since I've been doing
You got to channel that Revere.
But no, you could, it's more it's the presence. And I remember being like, sure. And she played Fancy and she played songs off that album. And it was so horribly explicit, just so, and so loud.
Inappropriate.
So horrible. And a lot of half rooms there in the hospital. I had a full suite to myself, but you could hear through those walls for sure. And God, can you imagine being in the room next door getting news and hearing Iggy Azalea in the background? But she just came in and she looked at my nails, my fingernails, and she was like, oh, we got to do something about that. And she was very, she was just... what I've come to 10 years later, and maybe 10 years from now, I'll have a different, realization to add to this. But, her superpower was seeing through the eyes of the kid and saying, this is a 12-year-old girl who's now only hearing about all these horrible things that are happening to her. And what is normalcy for her? Like, normalcy for her is not just walking and getting around. Of course it is in part, but it's also having her hair done, having her nails done. It's like, how can we give her some semblance of fun, normal things while she's trying to handle and unprocess all of these big adult crises? So she took care of me, and she checked on me all the time, and we had jokes going back and forth, and my dad loved her, you loved her, and she became
part of the family. And I remember early on the first or second day you were there, it must have been the second day, not only had you suffered the stroke, but now you had sepsis as well. And the nurse says to me, you probably don't remember this because you were so sick.
Yeah.
But the nurse said, it wasn't Nurse Susie, it was someone else. She said, if you don't know what that is, do not look it up.
Yeah, it was pneumonia, sepsis, and then I had we got in septic shock.
Yeah.
Things were worsening. My lungs collapsed. It was thing after thing at the start of the Tufts stay.
So the fact that you, they saved your life is truly a miracle. They were on it, because all she said to me was, you have to trust us. We've got it. And I'm like, what else can I do? I have to trust that you're the experts. Yeah.
Well, I think that's exactly like the thing is now I'm, applying to law schools to try to study medical malpractice. And I think that that's a piece of advice that I've heard you give, and I've heard my dad give to people over and over again. It's like, be very careful when you trust and when you push back, and, when you look for a second opinion, and when you, put your hands up and allow the professionals to do what the professionals do. Just as you were mentioning earlier, you're saying, well, I wanted to get the second opinion. I wanted to get her to Boston.
Right.
But now we also, if they say don't look something up and you're there and you're in it, but they've got all their devices and all their doctors in the room, like, that's a moment where you're like, all right, I have done my due diligence. I've done my part. And now it's time to let the doctors.
Right. Well, I mean, and I don't know if I made the right, I often look back and I don't know if I made the right decision in transferring you to Boston. I don't know if you would have had the same outcome had you stayed in Maine. I guess it doesn't matter. We did what we did.
Yeah.
It's impossible to say. But I definitely felt more confident with the people that we were surrounded with at Tufts. So then you're there 12 or 13 days, and then you eventually somehow get stabilized enough, and the deciding factor of whether you are now to move to Spalding, because you still as you're leaving Tufts, you still can't walk. You have to relearn everything.
Yeah, I can't move any of my body.
You still can't move anything.
An obstinate reflex in my left leg. But aside from that,
but you have to be able to eat food, and you had lost, I don't know how much weight. You were already small to begin with.
Was the number that was being thrown? Yeah, I was. I was a very thin, lanky child. Athletic, built. Tall. And so, I think I was 16 pounds under whatever that probably already low BMI I was running at the time.
But we were like force feeding you Big Macs.
The story goes, I'm so glad you brought this up.
The story goes to get you out of there.
I was on my second feeding tube at this point, and feeding tubes, while perhaps not the most painful thing that I had endured in that stay, one of the most disturbing and uncomfortable experiences. Like, it's just, again, giving your listeners visual here, but they stick the feeding tube down your nose, and they instruct you to swallow repeatedly as best you can while it's going down, and you feel it going down, and it's horrible. And
sounds horrible.
Yeah, sorry, not suitable for work. Warning. It's horrible. And I really did not want to go back. This was a Nurse Susie story. I really did not want to go back on it. I was begging her. I'm like, please. And I think she's looking at me like, after all you've endured, you're really this is where you're going to stick your heels in the ground, is over a feeding tube. But she was like, okay, fine. We'll do the chew and swallow test, which is a graham cracker and an apple juice. Usually they make sure that you can properly swallow it. And I think I barely passed. I probably got a B- on that assignment. And she was like, well, listen, it's your caloric intake that we're stressed about. And so I'm going to tell one of your parents to go across the street, and Tufts is located in Chinatown. And we're going to go to Chinatown McDonald's across the street. We're going to get you big burger and a shake. And if you can intake like 2,000 plus calories by the end of the night. But she was looking at me with those eyes, like, I'm not going to let you get away with this though. If you don't do it, we're putting you back in the feeding tube. And I've never been more, I think, disgusted by food in my life. But that was the price to pay to not get that horrible tube down my throat. And so I remember.
Well, and I think about it now. I mean, I can't even imagine like if you're going literally 2 weeks without solid food. Yeah. And now you're trying to down like the worst. Like a Big Mac and a
love McDonald's. Shake. Shout out McDonald's. It was not in the right state of mind.
Your first meal after
for it. Yeah.
No, after not really having solid food for a long time, your body wasn't really prepared for that, but you needed it for sure. Yeah. So you got that down. So then they transport you to Spalding. Mm-hmm. Yes, I got that right, Spalding. And then we spend the next month and a half or so, a little over
60 days.
Almost 2 months.
Yeah, 2 months.
And so that's where we learned to do everything again. We learned you had occupational therapy, you had physical therapy, you had just a couple days of speech therapy.
And that was just because I was stubborn. Frankly, they probably should have kept me in speech therapy longer. The iconic, there's like the blowing in the tube and a lot of tubes involved.
A lot of tubes
that word over. But no, there's a tube that you blow into and it measures however much, air you're able to output. And I was not performing well on that either, but they let me stop speech therapy. And I was doing physical and occupational therapy every single day. My left
3 hours a day.
Yeah, 3 hours a day. My left side came back first, almost in full, and my right side was probably 20% by the time we left. I left being able to walk down the hallway in a walker with close supervision, but I was still pretty wheelchair bound, and then really started to get around in the walker once I got home.
So what is the biggest lesson you learned from that whole part of your journey?
The part, just
all of it.
All of it. It's a tough question. A loaded question. And it's hard to say because I was so young. Like it's like whatever.
Well, you
lesson
wrote a
I
book
learned
about
then.
it. What was the book called?
It was called Tying the Ribbon. I wrote it when I was very, very young, and it was more of a way of personally recounting everything and just having that. So that when I'm older, I can look back and be like, oh, what were the details that were sticking out to the 16-year-old version of me?
But it's a great book because it really does tell the story from an adolescent perspective that I don't think a lot of people would understand otherwise.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes you'd get it from a parental point of view, but to get it from your point of view and to understand how intrusive a lot of these procedures were at that age and how there was so much that you didn't understand that was happening to you at the time. And so I keep saying, like, had I written the book back then, my experience was so much different than what yours was. You were living it, right? Mine was more, fear-based, but yet you had to be the mama bear and the papa bear, right? We had to advocate for you because one of the things I kept saying is we were really your only continuity of care because one of us was with you all the time.
That's true. Yeah.
Whereas the doctors would rotate and you'd get new faces all the time. We were the ones that really had to be there at the meetings and make sure that the information was correct. But anyway, you also met some amazing people at Spalding.
I did. Yeah.
Tell our listeners what it's like to live on a pediatric floor. I think you were on the 8th floor of Spalding.
Yes.
And just being in that environment every day where people were trying to get their mobility back.
Yeah. And this I'm glad you asked that because I don't think I would have necessarily known where to go with the lesson that was learned, but whatever it is, it can be ascribed to these kids that we lived with. There were some pretty inspirational kiddos on that floor. So I was 12 at the time and quite tall. And I say that because when they decide whether or not to put you on the pediatric floor, which is like a generalist's floor versus say floor, I think like 4 or 6 at Spalding was like the stroke floor. They look at your body mass, they look at your size, and they also look at your age. And so I was one of the older kids to be on the pediatric floor. And it's just more about like what kind of tubes and what kind of like, there they are again, what kind of like materials they need to have at their disposal and what kind of care the professionals who are working on the floor know how to provide. But I was on the pediatric floor, and some of the kids, I mean, one of the kids who, I can't say kid anymore, she's a grown adult in the most horrifying and terrible way. Brooke Sargent, she has cerebral palsy, and she lived near my room for most of the duration that I was there. And she was a bit younger than me. I think she was 7 at the time, so about half my age. And man, these kids, they just like, you think it's a sad place. You think those wards are sad, but they're full of optimism, because kids, you know, I think something that you kind of alluded to earlier that kids have is that unawareness, and that unawareness is a gift too, because it gives them the ability to be optimistic. They don't know the statistics. They don't know, right. You know, they're not researching. They're not, you know, they haven't had loved ones die of XYZ, like, you know, and they don't have the cultural conscience to know whatever they're, you know, going through and how it situates. And so someone like Brooke, you know, she's just smiley. She's happy. She had this endurance that is unlike what I've seen in any adult. And I've worked in hospital environments a lot since then. But the kids, the best memory that I have of the kiddos, it was 4th of July, and Spalding, my dad always says, would be a 5-star hotel if the entry ticket, you know, weren't.
Now let's just tell our listeners who may know of Spalding. Now this was the new Spalding that was opened the year after the Boston Marathon bombing. So Haley ended up being one of the first pediatric patients there a year after the.
Was it a year? I think it was.
It was only. Year, I think it was within the year or whatever. Yeah. It's within that year that you were one of the first patients treated in that facility. So it is a beautiful facility.
It's stunning. They had just moved.
All state-of-the-art equipment.
Yeah, they were more inland, and they had just moved to this beautiful, it's on the water. It's right.
Charlestown, Massachusetts.
Yeah, if you're coming from Maine, if you're coming from New Hampshire, you're going to come over the bridge and see it. And so anyway, there was this glass room in the state-of-the-art facility that overlooks the Citgo sign in Fenway Park. Mm-hmm. And they had a beautiful fireworks show, and we were all the kids had gone into the parents' lounge that night, which is usually an off-limits space for the kids, for good reason. Good reason. And we were all there, I think there were 12 of us on the floor. And, you know, it was also just an image of accessibility in that moment too, because we'd moved the couches aside and had 12 kids of all very different abilities. You know, some who were essentially brain dead and some who were standing and walking around. And we sort of managed to accommodate all of those abilities such that all 12 kids could be standing against that glass watching those fireworks in that moment. And it was an incredibly emotional image to have, but a beautiful one too. And it's a demonstration of what you do for people, for, you know, accessibility, for equity. And it was, I just remember sitting next to Brooke. I remember a couple of the kids who were there with us.
Excuse me. Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah.
And it was,
Brooke and Braden, and I can't remember all the kids, but
a lot of them.
There were a lot of kids. It was and the families were incredible. I mean, to watch the resilience of all of them, and you know, you had every right to feel sorry for yourself, and so did everybody. And I don't think I saw anybody feel sorry. I mean, there might have been moments when you were, you know, tired from working out so hard and trying to get everything back and wanting to go home, obviously.
But you don't really see a lot of the kids saying, "Why me?"
No,
you
not
don't.
At all.
Kids don't. They don't see challenges like that. And I'm a psych major now, so I think a lot of that was inspired by a curiosity about what children are thinking and facing. And
Yeah, and before we move on, and I do want to, but I would be remiss if we didn't mention the amazing community of Falmouth, Maine, that lifted you and supported us as a family and tied green ribbons around every pole throughout the town. And they were doing fundraisers and doing all kinds of things to show their support and love for you. So you were a very well-loved student at Falmouth Middle School at the time.
Falmouth Middle School at the time, into Falmouth High School. Sam, my older brother, was a student at Falmouth High School while I was in middle school. This happened at the end of my 6th grade year. And everyone was taken care of, and our family was taken care of, and people, took care of your restaurant. My dad, shout out to Pape Subaru and all the employees there. Freddie Pape, my dad's boss, and all of his, my dad's general manager there, all of his employees, all of his coworkers, they just let him take all that time off and come visit me. And my teachers, they let me start in the 7th grade the following year. They didn't hold me back. And
everybody was super supportive.
Yeah.
So before the stroke, you were quite the athlete. You were one of the fastest runners in the state of Maine, indoor track. We talked about that. You were a goalie on the soccer team. You were a pitcher on your softball team. You played basketball. I mean, I don't think there was a sport you didn't play. You played trumpet in the band. You were just doing everything you could do. And then after the stroke, you you were still paralyzed when you went back to school, sort of. You were struggling to walk. You had to have some accommodations made for you to enter back. So you got back to school. You only missed, I think, a month of school at the end because it's happened in May. So you missed the end of your 6th grade year.
Yeah.
And then
now I don't know how to divide fractions because I missed.
I know
never learned
her math skills.
Nobody ever told me.
Even though she's a Harvard grad, she will not be hired to be your accountant.
Probably not.
Probably not.
But hopefully you're a lawyer, and
hopefully you're a lawyer. That's right. Exactly. So, so let's bring it. Where are you now physically? What do you have?
Sure. So my only remaining physical deficits include the inability to move or feel my right hand. I can't move or feel part of my right foot. And I just have some mobility and sensation weakness all along my right side. My left side is quite strong. You can't really, I would categorize my disability as falling under the invisible disability category, in that many folks meet me and know me for a very long time and don't know that anything has ever happened or could have ever happened based on my physical mobility alone. So I don't appear to have had a disability, so to speak, but I get around pretty easily. Everyone always asks me, so I'll answer the question. I was right-handed before. I'm left-handed now. And I am, thankfully at the stage where I don't really think about it all that much while I'm physically getting around. Like, there are, of course, days where I'm physically tired or have tasks that I can't really fully, execute because of the immobility in my right hand that certainly frustrate me. But what Dad always says and what I always say and what a lot of people come to when they hear about the story is, like, if this outcome were on a, contract 12 years ago, I think we would have signed that dotted line back then. And what a privilege to have what I have now. And I feel I very, very rarely feel the feeling of like, well, I don't have everything. I don't have it all back. I can't run anymore. And that's not to say I don't get sad or I don't, reminisce or dream of what that life would have been like, that University of Maine track scholarship that could have, come my way. But no, it
opened up other doors for you.
It opened up other doors, absolutely.
Theater, and we talked about improv earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing that you probably would not have pursued otherwise.
Yeah, no, I got back and I had a bit of an identity crisis because, as was made obvious just now by all the sports you listed off, like, that was my things. I was like, I was an athlete. I was, picked first on the gym class dodgeball team. And I now all of a sudden had to figure out what was going to be my identity. And And I must admit that I went to theater, yikes. No, I love theater. I love theater kids, but I didn't at the time. And I was like, oh, geez, am I really doing this?
No, you really had to pivot because let's face it, you couldn't play the trumpet anymore.
No.
I mean, that was, so what challenges, or what do you think the biggest challenges have been that you've faced over the last 10 years or so as a result of the stroke?
Physical or like social or?
Any of it. Like, what do you think the biggest challenges have been?
Well, there's obviously the physical. There's obviously, it's been 10 plus years now of you don't always anticipate when a need is going to arise until the moment where you have that need. And that can be very frustrating. And I've had to learn how to adapt very quickly, sometimes instantaneously. Like, if I'll just need to lift something at work and you haven't told your employer about your exact limitations, and you just got to figure out how to face that in the moment. But then there are the bigger long-term, like physical things that I face. I have some nerve damage that's evolved over the years and gotten worse. And some like, I try not to get sick because I am very, very susceptible to getting sick. And so, of course, COVID was a particularly scary time for me and for kids.
Do you think people treat you differently when they learn you have a disability?
I think yes. I think everybody does, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think we have implicit biases about everybody and everything. Whether it's your sexuality, your race, your ability. We are grown up in certain environments, and then we assign certain traits to folks who are from different backgrounds. And for most people, they grow up being able-bodied at my age and don't know what it's like to be disabled, and assign certain thoughts, experiences to me as somebody who has claims to be disabled, and takes ownership of that identity. But I don't think that, I think my best friends, and I have several best friends who have just handled it so well and have been so kind to me about it and so thoughtful, are the ones who don't, they don't change how they view you. Like they think you're fragile, or they think that you can't do anything. They already know you. They know you in the capacity of what you are doing. But the best friends I've had are the ones who just, take that information and just like knowing your coffee order. It's just something that they know. Like it's something that, in the same way I go to the coffee shop and I pick up my friend's coffee order because I know it's hers. Like my friend, sees me walking down a set of stairs and sees that there's no railing on the left side and offers a hand. Like, I think it's just what I've learned. Maybe this is one of those big life lessons that I've learned, is that everybody has things. Yes. Everybody has things they're dealing with, and you don't realize it when you're a kid because a lot of kids don't have something that they're dealing with yet, at least in sheltered Falmouth, Maine, sheltered Harvard student upbringing. And so you feel like the odd one out, but you get to be in your mid-20s and all of a sudden, like everybody's endured something. Everyone's been through, or known someone who's gone through something. And this is just one of my things. And yours is just a little bit visible. So how do you feel then about the term disabled? I'm a big fan of it. Really? I'm a big fan of it. And so is a lot of the community. I can't speak for the community, obviously, but I am very proud of the phrase. I'm very proud of persons with disability and being a part of that community. It's a community that doesn't have a very well-documented history, but has an illustrious history of just people who have been so inspiring and so strong in so many ways. And I think that in my experience, a lot of people actually do like identifying with disabled or disability. And some people have suggested and really love terms like differently abled. When it comes to mental disability, some folks prefer neurotypical or, neurodivergent. So there are a lot of subcategories and different phrases. And, truth be told, it's a personal preference. I highly recommend, if people don't know what to do or how to refer to somebody, just ask. More often than not, I think people prefer that you ask. And for me, I'm perfectly happy being called a disabled person. I'm actually quite proud of it. So now I know several people have been inspired by your story. They've read your first book, Tying the Ribbon. I know several young people that are going through similar life events have reached out to you, and you've been able to support and mentor them.
what kind of words of inspiration would you give somebody that was going through a life crisis, both the parent and the child? What would you tell them?
I think, and this is less so the case today, but there was a wave there from 2010 to 2020, I think, of like just trying to be so positive all the time. And it's a great mechanism. It really helps a lot of folks. Like, you know, if you just are constantly trying to put away negative thoughts, you can totally like reframe your outlook on life, all that, obviously benefits to that. But I think that what is really critical is allowing yourself to be sad, allowing yourself to be frustrated, allowing yourself whatever outlet you need to experience those human emotions too. Because what you can do is you can do what I did, which is I was so positive. I was so optimistic. I always looked up, and thought about, well, what's the next thing I can recover? You know, I've started to walk again. Now can I run? I've started to do this. Can I do this? And what happened to me was high school came around and my mobility started kind of plateauing. Like I started to reach where I am today. And I had become, you know, a pretty successful theater student in Falmouth High School where I was in shows, and I had really turned to academics, and I became a successful student, and I got into Harvard, and all these wonderful, wonderful things were happening. But all along, I still could never run a race again. I still could never move my right hand again. You know, there were these salient disabilities that never were going to go away. And I think I really did a fantastic job masking and overcoming or coping with some of that pain by just creating all this goodness all around me all the time. But it left me then in 2020 when I graduated high school, in that COVID year where everyone was reflecting and everyone was by themselves, I was left looking at myself and being like, I've never really worked through any of these things. And I'm so profoundly sad about some of these things. And I've never really found,
you didn't allow yourself the space.
I never allowed and I was so young, and it was so important. I don't regret doing what I did and the path that I took. But I got really, really depressed on my gap year. I got very, very, you know, I became insular. I became really obsessed with a lot of the things I didn't have. And thankfully turned to therapy. I go to therapy once a week. I'm a huge proponent of therapy, and I started therapy then, and I've been in it ever since. And I really got to face some of those things, and face my disability, and face survivor's guilt, and face things that happen to you, you know, both mentally and physically when you live on a floor like that, in a ward like at the one at Spalding, and you progress alongside kids who don't progress. And just dealing with a lot of those really kind of awkward and painful things that I hadn't dealt with. So I think, long answer short, give yourself the time to grieve. And having a disability, it's grieving something that you've lost before. It's grieving an ability, and disability faces, you know, it's the one minority category that almost everybody's going to be a part of at some point in their life. You know, most people, it comes later in life, thank goodness. But it's something that faces us all, and I think it's important to talk about what's also sad and frustrating, and also face the things that are, you know, our society isn't built for disabled people, and making sure that we're all talking about those things. It's hard because you don't want to tokenize people who are disabled. You don't want to say like, I'm thinking of you in this way. I'm, you know, thinking of you like this, but making sure that we are still thinking, whether it's in our own time or it's with them, so that we're accommodating folks, so that we're making the world accessible, and so that we're giving ourselves the time to process everything. Because otherwise you're going to crash at some point. All that's going to
catch up with you eventually. So,
I mean, have you gone through that? Like, have you, like, obviously while it was first happening, you were dealing with a lot of pretty intense feelings and sadness and all of that sort of for me. But over the course of my recovery, like, I'm curious, what have been your low moments and your high moments? Sorry, I'm interviewing you now. Welcome to the Joy of the Hang. Who's your host, Haley Stark? I'm just curious, like, what have you...
Turning the show over. You know, thank you for asking. That's actually a great question. I have had lots of low moments when I was angry. Wasn't just sad. I was angry. I had a lot of, why does she have to go through this moments? It's hard to watch your child struggle at all. And when I would see other kids do well in sports or take positions that you probably would have had, or have things easier in life and not, I would see when you were in a wheelchair, the way some people would look at you and treat you. And that used to make me really upset and angry. They'd make assumptions that, they had no right to make. There was a lot of, probably some jealousy, some fear, lots of fear, right? Like not knowing what your future was going to look like, but feeling like some moments were stolen from you. And as a mom, it was like, this feels unfair. But I mean, the way that you've handled it with such grace and strength has been really an inspiration to me and to so many other people. So I'm really proud of how you've been able to manage it all, because I see your health struggles, and it's very frustrating to watch any of your children go through a hard time, so I think that things that people take for granted, for example, getting a waitress job after high school, you can't just go be a waitress.
Nope.
Because you don't have the use of both of your hands. And so you think about, that should be an easy job, but you really need to be able to carry trays and clean tables. And, so there are certain things that you can't do.
It's true. It's strange.
That people take for granted.
Yeah, it's strange because going to Falmouth High School, going to Harvard College has made me so capable. And I'm so blessed and so privileged to have had those experiences. And I feel so I am lucky to say that I don't have to go into many entry-level jobs because I have all these networks and these brilliant connections that have been made both on my behalf and that I've made over the years and in these institutions. And but it's true. It's an odd paradox to be in the position of being like, well, I think that I could, apply to law school, but I can't carry a tray and deliver plates to somebody's table in a waitressing job. So, it's pretty humbling.
But but then you told me the story about the woman that had an issue with you watching her child because you couldn't, necessarily reach out and grab them with both of your hands. And I'm like, I was angry at her. I'm like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever, it really made me angry. So as a parent, there are times when you share some stories and I just am like, I just want to smack some people up the side of the head because I know that you're so responsible and you're such a hard worker and you're so dedicated and would do whatever you could to overcome your own obstacle. Like you're not looking for somebody to fix anything for you. You never have.
No, you have to become, I think that a lot of people, again, I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for a subsect of my community. I think you have to become very secure with yourself and with your abilities and with what you have to provide. And what my mom was referring to is I was nannying for two young children, and her mom fired me from the job on the first day because she was so afraid that I wouldn't be able to take care of her young kids. And this is after, to be clear, I have the deficits that I described, but I am a very capable person. I have my CPR, certification. I've nannied forever. I can change diapers. I can carry children. I, carried the 50-pound kid first. And I would never put myself in a position or put anyone's children in the position where they would be unsafe.
So just to describe what she was worried about. So your right hand is in a permanent claw position?
Pretty much,
is that how you would describe it?
Yeah. People are familiar with it if they know
it's a droop.
MS
so you're
CP,
right. Yeah. So she's not able to extend her fingers in a way that, if she were to shake your hand, she can't extend her fingers fully. She doesn't have any control. Those nerve endings have died. So she has no control over her fingers on her right hand, and that's all. That's pretty much.
I do want to quickly revise. It's not that the nerve endings have died. Physically, the nerve endings are actually there and strong. It's that the signals from my spine are damaged. So my hand actually doesn't have any physical disability. It's that I can't send the signals from the spine, from that spot in the spine.
Thank you for clarifying.
No, just because it can be confusing to folks. Yeah,
it's definitely confusing. So that is the only deficit that you would see that's noticeable. So for that,
and listen, I did not want to slap her. I did not want, and I did in the moment
when you told me the
story. It was very emotional, and I said, listen, I get it. Like, if you're a mother if you're a young mom, young kids, like, you set your boundaries. If you have things you're stressed about, you be stressed about those things. I'm not going to be the one to, I'm not going to tell her, I'm not going to stand there, put my heels to the ground and say, you have to trust me with your children's lives. Like, no, again, I wouldn't have put myself in the position where, I would have ever thought that the kids would be unsafe for a moment. And I'm, very, very well trained in taking care of children, taking care of folks with this disability. And I think this isn't a story about me, really. It's not, because I've had amazing opportunities with a lot of kids, with a lot of families. It's a great gig and an awesome thing that I'm doing on my gap year that I have a lot of fun doing. And I've been able to take care of kids in emergency situations and for most of the time I'm with the kids anyway. But this is not a story about me, but this is what I think is, I really want to get across with this one that you brought up is that there are so many disabled parents, and there are so many disabled caregivers, and there are so many disabled doctors, nurses who are in these positions who are just incredibly capable and are, that was I want to respect the fear that she had, and I do respect the fear that she had, and I very gracefully stepped down. Yeah. But that fear is also in many ways unfounded. There are a lot of folks out there who are disabled and are amazing moms, are amazing nannies, amazing. Exactly. And people overcome disability that you'll never know about, in your life. And so, I just want to make sure that that's what it's taken away from.
And as frustrated as or angry as I might have gotten about what happened to you and some of the stuff that you lost, I am so grateful that you're still with us, right? Because that could have been the other outcome, and that was the outcome that I was facing. You're stuck. I'm so stuck with you, and I'm happy to be stuck with you. So that was, I was like, this is, like you said earlier, like best case scenario, I guess, or one of the best cases scenarios. So it might not be a full recovery, but it's pretty damn close. Mm-hmm. And you have done amazing things with your life, your first 24 years. So that's exciting. And so now you have, I have to laugh though. I always tell people you were born in the year of 9/11, the Twin Towers bombing. You were in my belly. So you were born in November. The Twin Towers were hit in September, obviously. And then you were the COVID class.
Yes.
So in the middle of that, you had your stroke. So at age 12, you had your stroke. You hit the COVID class. So you didn't have graduation. You've had a lot of loss and a lot of weird stuff happening in your life, right? So
whoever's got my voodoo doll out there, if you could just stop. She's been through enough.
That's right.
Put the pish pins aside. Right. We don't. She
surrenders. She's calling. Truth, calling you truth. But anyway, you now have a degree from Harvard. You were a psychology/theater major.
Yeah, I have. Yep, I got my double.
And you are now applying to law schools. Shout out any law schools that you have applied to.
At law schools, I got into some last year. I got into an amazing grad program in New York City that I may return to. I'm just figuring out sort of next steps right now. But yeah, I've been very, very lucky. I don't think of... it's funny when you lay it out like that with all the misfortune, because I don't think about my life.
That's good. That's good.
Full of misfortune. I think
good, but you just take that, you compile those years.
It's true.
Man.
It's true.
Look at history, right?
Got a Midas touch of some kind.
Kind of crazy. Not just you. That whole generation, right? But anyway, that being said, so now you're off to bigger and better things. You're taking a little bit of a gap year again to kind of regroup. Yeah. But you have a couple of opportunities already on hold. What do you hope your future looks like? I know we talked a little bit about how difficult it is, and I don't want to go into it because we're already way too long on this episode. We have to kind of cut it short.
Special feature. It
is a special feature, but I want to say it's difficult for young kids now to be out on their own. Everything's so expensive. But what do you hope for your future?
In terms of what I hope for my generation, I hope that we can start to rewrite what's going on economically. We have been handed, thank you very much, a pretty difficult economic landscape. The college degree holds less weight than it used to, just because so many, it's a beautiful thing, but so many people are able to access college and get a college degree now. And unfortunately, a part of that and many other factors have left us in a position where that no longer puts us ahead of many other people in the job market. And people are still taking out loans for college, and whether loans are getting relieved or whether they're actually getting a higher interest rate, when all that's, it's all very up in the air. It's all very confusing. And I think my generation, I speak for a lot of us when I say that we just not only have a lot of uncertainty about what's next, but we have just a lot of like fear and lack of hope that we're actually going to be able to make any difference. And I think there's sort of this nihilistic trend in the Gen Z, which I am proudly a part. And it's like, I think that a lot of us, we do want all of the things that the generation before us had. We want the American dream. We want a home. We want a family, but they feel so out of reach financially. And, now just because of inflation, like you can make the same amount that was being made 15, 20 years ago, but that, the power of that dollar is so much less. Like the wages have not increased that much for how much prices have increased and how much, and so it feels out of reach. And I hope that we can figure out a way to make it such that all my friends who are these brilliant Harvard graduates in Boston, cannot find a job. Like you can't find an entry-level $20 an hour job with a Harvard degree. And people, don't believe me. Ask anyone in my class. Like this is what we're facing. This is what's being faced by kids all across the country. And I think, I hope that we can somehow, someone maybe, or some administration or something can galvanize us and give us hope again, because it feels very lost right now. And there doesn't seem to be someone who's leading that mission for our generation right now. But for me personally, like I hope to find health. I hope to find fortune. I hope to find, continue to build my own path towards those things. And I hope to give back to some of these communities that helped me along the way. I think you're exposed to people and institutions in your life for a reason, and not all of those reasons need to be acted upon. Like some of them can just be things you think about, but for me, they feel like action items. They feel like people and places that I want to give back to. So I look forward to, whether it's in theater, whether it's in law, whatever domain it ends up being, in giving back to the disabled community and trying to raise some of those voices, because on top of everything that's happening in the world today, our world is still not built for disabled people. And if I can contribute to that at all, I think that will have made some of my hardship worth it.
Now, do you think, just one final question, do you think AI has taken a lot of the jobs that your generation would have taken, or how do you think AI is impacting?
It's a loaded question. Yes, but also it's not the primary, I think it will be a much bigger force in years to come. I think it's an unavoidable force. People don't understand AI. It's two letters that are used in this very vague sense, saying AI is ending, culture. It's ending, it's killing the job market. It's like, well, sure. But there are really specific ways that it's happening and it's unfolding. And it's not that AI is just taking jobs. Like, yes, there are certain positions that are being taken over that deal with writing or deal with creating softwares. It's a lot of actually the people who made AI and contributed to AI whose jobs are going to be taken over by AI. Yeah. But there are plenty of positions that are pretty much unaffected. And in fact, because we could talk for hours about AI, I'll just put one positive spin on what's happening. There is actually a need, and I think a push for folks who have humanities backgrounds and who have arts and culture backgrounds to come forward, because that's something that is going to be the hardest for robots to replicate and for these systems to reproduce. And so, in a way, the humanities degree is becoming more important because we need the people who are experts in being a person and not being a robot. But it is a threat. It's not, however, as much of a threat, I think, as some of the other financial crises that we're facing, and the just fact that every big company is acquiring every other big company, and the rates for working at those companies is impossibly, high and out of reach for most folks, and that we're losing the middle class. We're losing all those jobs in the middle that people used to be able to work and sustain a family and sustain their lives on. And it's, I think we have bigger problems than AI. I think AI is a fun, big thing to talk about that feels very fantastical and feels very threatening and looming in a dystopian way. That's fun to talk about, but it's not. I do not think that it's our biggest threat right this moment. And I think that if I can encourage anyone to do anything in response to AI, it's honestly stop worrying about it and stop using it. Try your best to stop using it. It will prune your brain and you will lose your ability to form creative thoughts. And I think it's your personhood that's going to become very valuable.
I think it's a valuable tool that people can use, just like Googling. It's a tool, but you're right.
Use it as a tool, and I would say it's not akin to Googling, because oftentimes what it gives you is wrong. Okay. You can ask it. These systems like ChatGPT, they are built to tell you exactly what you want to hear. If you give it a problem that you're having in your life and you ask it how to solve it, it will be like, I've got you. It will coax you into thinking so you
have to be careful.
You have to be very careful. It is going to tell you what you want to hear. There was this widespread crisis where people were using it in research papers, and it was giving you citations that did not even exist on studies that were never conducted. Yeah. So it is not
verified.
It is not verified. It is not a credible source. It is not, we can't avoid it. I believe that it's coming. I believe it's going to get more intelligent. And I believe that, there are some good uses of it, but what will become my strong belief is what will become the most valuable and what will become the most intelligent and the most credible is going to be the human brain, and what it cannot be replicated. And
you can't replicate a human soul, not yet anyway. So we're going to do a speed round. But before we do you have any questions for me, since we're doing this special edition mother-daughter interview? Do you have any questions for me that you want to know before I do speed round?
Oh, that's a good question. I didn't bring any notes.
You can come back. All right, you can come back to that. Speed round. If you think of something, let me know. So speed round, and I want you to answer this in your British accent.
Oh, please don't ask.
No?
Please don't ask me to do that. I really don't want to do accents.
Oh, darn.
I had to start this interview by saying I did improv. Please don't.
Okay, fine.
Let that be what people take away.
Fine. Okay. Favorite Broadway show?
Oh, Little Shop of Horrors. It's my first musical that I directed, and it's, to this day, it's a cult classic. I love it.
Okay. Favorite song?
I Don't Want to Grow Up by Tom Waits. It's used in the movie Jojo Rabbit. It's a beautiful, his voice, anything by Tom Waits, but that one in particular.
I think I know the answer to this, but sunrise or sunset?
Sunset. I'm a night person.
She's a night owl.
My circadian rhythm.
Do not try to call Haley before noon.
If I set my availability on my calendar for after 11 a.m., it's not because I have meetings that go until 11 a.m. It's because I am, it's true. But I stay up very, very late.
All right. Pizza or hamburger?
Oh, I love where these questions are leading. We've gone from the depths of a soul to the pizza. I'm Italian.
Pizza. Okay.
That was surprising to you?
No, not really.
Yeah. I was going to say.
Not really.
Sort of Yeah.
Not really. Okay, let's see. Favorite holiday, is it going to be, I already know it, but is it going to be New Year's Eve or the 4th of July?
What a strange two to select. I don't think New Year's Eve for sure.
Those were a strange two to select.
Why? I don't think anyone's is 4th of July.
Mine is the 4th of July, actually. 4th of July.
I'm not as much of a patriot, I must admit.
Well, not because of
America.
No,
can you imagine? I'm like,
no.
After everything I've just said about AI and the housing crisis, I'm like
4th of July because
I love my
I am a
country.
patriot, first of all, but more because you're usually.
I'm usually
at the beach, or you're at someone's pool, or at the lake. Yeah. It's warm weather. The fireworks are going off. You're having burgers and hot dogs. It's casual. I love that.
4th of July is super fun.
You have to bring.
Yeah,
you don't have to bring
4th of
gifts.
July.
Yeah,
you don't have to bring gifts.
You don't have to bring gifts. You don't have to get all dressed up. It's just a fun holiday.
Listen, you gave me two options. I had to pick one of them. That wasn't me saying I hate the 4th of July.
I felt like it was. So what would be, if I didn't give you an option, what would be your favorite holiday?
Still New Year's.
See, I already knew it. That's why I made that.
But I also like, I'm a big fan of Valentine's Day too. A lot of people are not. I am because.
Really?
Yeah. Because I really like the Galentine's Day tradition.
She has a best friend that she's.
You do. Shout out Turn Shy again.
Shout out Turn. We love you. And Nellie, we love you too. Nellie's been a friend for a long time.
Yeah. No, I have two amazing girlfriends. I have many, many friends, and I love any excuse to celebrate them and celebrate with them.
You've always had a nice friend group.
Yeah, I've been very lucky. Theater kids, man, that's a accepting, expressive, and fun place to meet people.
Creative people.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it. All right, I think that's it for my speed round.
Those questions were so random and fun. That was so strange.
That's what a speed round
we
is.
went from what? Talk to me about your hell on earth, being paralyzed.
Yeah.
Hamburgers or pizza.
The podcast is called Joy of the Hang. I don't want to leave people.
Yeah, we were in the hate of the hang there.
We were not.
We were in the
we were hanging, but we
depression of the hang. we were
so
the pits of the hang. Yeah,
I know. So we had to end on a joyful note, which is things are good. You're in a great place.
I'm well medicated.
Your future looks bright, lady.
Yes, the future.
Future looks bright.
I have hope for folks. I'm very privileged in that I get to say that, but I do have hope. I think that we have. Congratulations to the Mamdanis. We have some very exciting young people, regardless of your political beliefs. We do have a lot of young people who are entering office and a lot of young people who speak for my generation. And it's very exciting. I'm glad that there are still some folks who are rallying hope and rallying, just for new ideas, regardless of what they are. It's just exciting that, a generation that I think overall is quite tired and exhausted. We had a pandemic. We had all these, like you said, born 9/11. Yeah. Nobody in their 20s can afford to live in an apartment by themselves and let alone start a family. And I'm just glad that there's still some hope out there. And excited to.
And to wrap it up, you have often said, "I am the best mother ever." So I'm just curious.
I'm quoted to say that. Yeah.
You're quoted to say, what is it about me that makes me so great?
You're like, what is it? What's the quote? It's like, enough about me. What do you think about me?
Enough about me. What do you think about me?
What makes you the best mother?
You don't need to answer that.
Do I have a couple more hours?
Yes.
Do we have more time? No, I have a great mom. She's great because she's not going to edit out the thing I just said about Mamdani, even though it doesn't appeal to all of her constituents.
No. But you know what? I'm neutral. I'm neutral. Switzerland. I'm middle of the road.
Sure.
I'm middle of the road.
I appreciate that.
You're allowed to have your opinion. That's what makes America great.
That is what we're going to celebrate come this 4th of July. Mom is going to be out on the beach with
celebrating freedom of
blue
speech
beads and red beads.
Your right to believe what you want. That's
absolutely.
You can't do that everywhere.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
And it means a lot to me that you feel that way because a lot of people don't. And I'll say that. Listen, I'll be the first to say that if we haven't lost those listeners, Harvard is one of the places where, in fact, free speech is actually not as easily protected. And we are an incredibly, incredibly liberal institution, which is great for many of us, but it does ostracize some students. And we do have a free speech problem at Harvard any way you cut it. And
We have a free speech problem in the United States.
Yeah.
People anywhere should be allowed to have their own opinion.
I agree. If you're not harming yourself or anyone else, the issue is that that's a muddy landscape now. Is what is hate speech anymore? But regardless,
New Hampshire's got it right. Live and let live. That's their state
Isn't
motto.
there live free and die? Is that
or live, maybe it's live free and die.
I don't think it's live and let live.
I'm making it. You guys, if I was wrong, New Hampshire.
Sharon Stevenson for New Hampshire, ladies and gentlemen.
I think it is live.
What makes my mom the best?
Sorry.
My mom, as you've heard on this podcast, if this is not the first one you're listening to, well, I'm about to say something nice.
Oh, okay.
I'm about to say something nice.
Okay, because I'm throwing something at her. That's why.
Y'all should have seen the look that I just got. I just got the classic mom to daughter. I was going to say that you yourself have a very interesting life story and that you are incredibly adaptable. And we've discussed this before, that I think your ability to climb out of situations and overcome and be adaptable to whatever comes your way is one of those genetic traits that has really helped me in my life. And while they've been different obstacles, like having that instinct. So yeah, I think but my mom's great, guys. She keeps it fresh. She keeps it real.
Keep it real. She doesn't always like my social media posts, but
no, I don't. That's true.
No, you're not a fan.
You're
a pseudo fan.
We're Freaky Friday because I don't post very often.
Yeah.
I'm not.
We are Freaky Friday. You're right. She does not. She's not one of her Gen Z. Yeah, no, you're not a social media gal. A lot of your.
I hate to admit I am. I'm just more of an audience member than a producer. Right. I for sure.
You don't share content, but you partake in scrolling and whatnot.
I do. Okay. I do. My brain is as dead as everyone else's. Yeah. No, I've got that. Whatever. Yeah. Part of my brain is turned numb. Has surely turned numb. But I don't outfit of the day in the way that you do.
No, I know.
Mine are, no one wants to see my outfits of the day. They want to see your
Nobody
outfits.
really wants to see mine either.
No, they do.
Girl, I'm going to be 60 years old this year. Can you believe it? 60
Let's talk
years old. No, we have to
make a
close
2-hour
up.
special.
But no, we're going to have
How long are we right now?
I don't know. We're already at 2 hours, I'm sure. But
people are going to love this. People are going to listen to the whole thing. They're going to say, you know what? We're going to go on a 3-hour road trip just to listen to this.
Listen.
You're going to be 60.
Tuned out. 60.
All right. Give us 60 tips. No. I'm kidding. What? Okay. You're going to turn 60. What are you looking forward to for 60? Then we'll close it out.
Okay. So I am looking forward to continuing to spread my message of social wellness and the importance of connection. So I am really hoping to build that platform and I really want to make people feel less lonely and more connected than before. The thing that really tugs at my heart is all the cases of teen suicide and people feeling really depressed.
Yeah.
And I think, I have 2 children. I have a son who is very much an introvert, and I have you who is very much of an extrovert. So to see the dichotomy between both of your personalities is fascinating as a mom. And I worry a lot about my son who is very much isolated. And so I think that's where my passion comes from. I'm concerned. And so, I guess if I can do anything to reach someone and reach people in a way that makes them feel seen and heard, that will be a meaningful year for me. I'm turning 60. I really want to live a purposeful life. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like the first half of my life was about building finances and building wealth. And now the second half is more about leaving a legacy. So
yeah, that's great. No, I think that's great. I think, also Sam is such an awesome point of inspiration. My older brother, you've just listened to me rattle on for hours, but you'd prefer to listen to him. He's a great guy. He has so much to say. So
he's funny.
He's my best friend.
He's so funny.
Yeah.
He's so funny, but
there's listen, here's the thing. I also think I have so many friends who are introverted, so many friends who have similarly like to themselves lives as Sam does. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being introverted so long as, you're getting fulfilled, like you're fulfilled in whatever ways you want to be fulfilled.
Correct.
As
long as they're mentally healthy and they're feeling seen and heard and they're not isolating in a way that makes them feel lonely and depressed.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But no, next step, get Sam on the podcast. Next step, get Sam out here.
We could do it remotely.
Yeah.
If he would do it. Do you think he would do it?
And on next week's episode of Joy of the Hang,
week's episode.
He might. He really might.
That'd be amazing.
Sending those requests now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you could work on that. Maybe you should interview him.
I'd interview.
You could be a guest.
I love hanging out with Sam.
All right. Well, there you go. All right. I have 2 amazing kids. Thank you.
This episode was about my mom bragging about her 2 amazing kids.
It was about, hey, I get to do that.
Like and subscribe.
My show, my content.
Mom's like, we're just talking about things I've made. I've made the show. I've made these 2 people.
These 2 amazing kids. Life is good. Yes. So yes, like and subscribe. Please follow us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Also, you can watch. Nope, this episode will not be viewable on YouTube because she didn't do her hair.
Yeah, again.
It's Haley's fault. You cannot
It is my fault.
us on this episode, but you can hear us.
Yep.
Yeah.
What can I plug? Follow me at HM Stark on Instagram. I have an upcoming opera in the Boston area, March 27th, 28th, 29th that I'm directing, the Lowell House Opera in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And those are my shameless plugs for right now. I think those are, if you ever have, you're going up to Boston, Massachusetts, call me.
You know what? We have listeners in 64 different countries right now.
So name all of them. Sorry.
I can't name all 64. Really Thanks for putting me on the spot, though. But that being said, I'm sure there's plenty of listeners in Boston.
If there's a listener in Boston and
they may want to come to your show.
Yeah, come to my show.
Yeah. All right. When is it? In March?
March 27th, 28th, and 29th. It's the operatic No Exit, Jean-Paul Sartre.
Her shows are fantastic, so I encourage you to go.
Thank you.
All right. And with that, listeners, thank you for another episode of Joy in the... Wait. I got it wrong. Another episode of Joy of the...
You got this. I
got this. I've only said it 60 sometimes, 70 times. All right. Thank you, Haley Stark, for being my guest today.
Anytime. Bye. What are we having for dinner? Bye.